Let's get a closer look. Whoa! Cruising along and it got suddenly very loud. And now I see why. Because my exhaust is no longer connected to my muffler. Let's listen to it. Let's see how it sounds. Okay, get her set up so you can get under the rear end of the vehicle. I'm using some ramps. If you don't have ramps, you can use some jack stands. Make sure you chalk your front tire. Alright, so now we're under. Let's have a closer look. We knew this was going on. Pretty crazy. Apparently this is a common failure on these exhausts. I'll show on a diagram because it's easier to see on the diagram. But this piece of pipe goes all the way up to the exhaust manifold. Here's the exhaust. So what I'm talking about is this whole piece of pipe is one pipe. If you try to get it from Toyota, we're gonna cut right here. So here's this is where the exhaust manifold connects. O2 sensor. So there's the first cat, O2 sensor, second cat. We're gonna cut right here. There's those hangers, resonator, this pipe, and there's the muffler. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this muffler out. The muffler is on 3 hangers like this. There's one. There's the other one. And then the third one is on the other side over by the tailpipe. There's the third one. And we can slide these off here. It's not as easy as it looks, but if you have a little silicone and channel locks, you can get them off. These exhaust hangers can be a real pain, so before you get started, spray them with some silicone spray, or if you don't have silicone spray, just use some dishwashing soap like Dawn. If you don't have dishwashing soap, then use some laundry detergent, just something to lubricate it a little bit in there. Do more than I just showed. I lubricated it a little bit before I turned the camera on. And then, since most people have channel locks, you can take your channel locks and just put one side on the back of the rubber and the other side on the metal part, and squeeze it. And once you get this tip over there, it'll come right off. My grip's not so good, so I don't use the channel locks, but that usually works for most people. I use this tool from good old Harbor Freight. This comes in a three pack, and this is the biggest of them. I use this all the time for removing hoses and stuff, and it's great for exhaust hangers. Okay, let's see if I can do this with one hand. You get one side around the back, and the other side in the hole, and you squeeze it, and it comes right off. So isn't that great? So if you don't have strong wrists, then get this tool, and it's only about $10 or $11, and you get 3 of them of different sizes, and they're really great. I use them all the time. The muffler is removed now, and you can see that is toast. Look at that. That looks like a s'mores 4th of July marshmallow right there. So I'm going to remove these. These are 14 millimeter. I'm going to use an impact because these are going to be on there very tight. If you don't have an impact, use your 14 with a nice breaker bar and probably a cheater bar. Just put a pipe or something over the end of your breaker bar. These suckers are probably going to be pretty tight. Yeah, those suckers were on there tight, but they look pretty good, so I think I'll be able to reuse them. I don't think I'm going to get away with reusing this exhaust gasket, though. I'm going to clean this off and then get an idea about what's going on inside here. I'm just chiseling away at this, and this is the piece that is actually part of that resonator pipe there. So this goes something like that. No, this goes like that. It's one of those pipes that fits in. So pretty toasted. I'll just keep chiseling away. Gotta clean this up all around. I got it cleaned up quite a bit more. I'm still gonna clean it up a little bit, but after you're done with the main stuff, look at all that mess. Make sure you tip the exhaust back over because this stuff is gonna fall down into the pipe. So then just tip the exhaust back over to get it out. Now that the muffler's off, I went ahead and took it off the ramps in the rear and brought the ramps to the front because we're gonna be now closer to the front. Alright, now I moved up in front of this, so this is the pipe that we're just looking at the other end, right there, where it's broken. And here's what I mean if you follow this pipe. You hit this piece here first, this is the resonator. You can see it's on these two hangers. Then you get up here, and so here's the resonator. Here's one catalytic converter. And then if you look past that oxygen sensor, it's the O2 sensor. There's another catalytic converter, and then it goes and it attaches to the exhaust manifold. So if you want to get this whole pipe from Toyota, you have to buy 2 catalytic converters. It's very, very expensive, and the resonator. So I don't need that, so we're going to cut. Alright, so your option is if you can get that stretch of pipe there, somehow, you can then just cut somewhere here and then slip that on, not have to replace your resonator or anything, and then just make sure that that pipe has the flange on it. A way you might get that is, let's say you're at a junkyard and you can cut anywhere along that length, wherever it would be easiest, because you're just trying to get a flange. I don't have that option right now, and so I'm gonna do the next cheapest thing as far as pipes go and replace this stretch with the resonator, which I can get for about 60 bucks. So this is the resonator pipe. This is the resonator. There's just 2 hangers, and then that's where it's gonna slide on. So this was like 63 bucks from Walmart.com. It's a Walker product. Walker 54698 is the number, made in Canada. It says Atlantic tube. And we look at the end here. This part is flared a bit, see? So we can do a slip fit, 2 1/4 outside diameter. I mention that because we'll need to have a clamp, and the clamp size you need to get is 2 1/4. These are 2 different types of clamps. This is called a band clamp, and this is called a U-clamp. I'm going to use this U-clamp because I accidentally ordered this and it's 2 1/2 inch, and that's not going to work. I don't know what the part number is for the Walker 2 1/4 inch, but if you got a 2 1/4 inch one, that would work okay. This U-clamp, as you can see by the picture, it's a different design. The disadvantage of using the U-clamp is because it has this single circular section, it will make it more difficult to remove the pipes if you ever have to remove them, because it's going to dent them into each other a little bit. But the band clamp won't do that. It'll be easier to remove the pipes at a later date if you use a band clamp. I'm just going to use this because I'm actually going to have this welded eventually, so it's okay to use this in my case. This was $4 from Advance Auto. This here is the exhaust gasket. It's a Walker 31533. It's a little different than the Toyota gasket. It's a graphite, but I don't know if it's got the mesh in there like the Toyota one does. At any rate, it'll work. This is what the end looks like, and you may remember that really rusted out ring that I showed earlier. That's where it disconnected on the Toyota. So you're looking to have this feature. I already checked the alignment. These holes line up perfectly with the Toyota muffler, so we're good to go for a swap on this. This thing is going to come covered in stickers. I mean, this thing had, it seemed like almost the whole thing covered with stickers. I took them off. I guess you could probably leave them on. I used the heat gun to just heat them up a little bit and then pulled back while the adhesive was a little hot. And then I used some mineral spirits to clean off the rest of the adhesive. Alright, so this is the Toyota muffler. And this is this new gasket. And it fits in there real nice. This is a Walker gasket, and this doesn't fit on here when you first put it on. It kind of wiggles, which is a little unusual, but it does have the seating on the bottom. And so I verified with Walker that this is the right gasket, because Walker made this resonator and this gasket, and it is the right gasket. I also got this. This is Permatex 80335. This is a muffler and tailpipe sealer, so I'm just going to rub a little bit of that on the joint, the slip joint, and it will help to prevent leaks. It's not necessary, but it's my understanding that this will help to prevent leaks, especially since I'm not going to get this welded right away. This was only $1.66. As you saw, we have to cut the pipe that's on the car right now, and we're going to use this device to cut it. You can get this as a free rental at AutoZone or Advance Auto. I got this one at Advance Auto. You put the deposit down and then they give you your money back when you return it. Comes with all these pieces. We're only going to use this one. These are tailpipe spreaders. This is a tailpipe saw. This is a nut splitter that it came with. You'll see the center of the car, but this is the gist of how this pipe cutter works. You wrap it around and you go back and forth, back and forth. If you can't get that, you could use a regular hacksaw. You could also use a sawzall. The pipe cutter or the hacksaw will give you a cleaner cut. Measure twice, cut once. It's always better to have a little extra and cut it twice if you do have to. So lay this pipe down, the new pipe. Lay it down so it's aligned with all of the important points. The hangers there, make sure that the hangers are aligned. And then come down here and make sure that the bend is aligned, right? So those two bends are aligned. And then come all the way back and make sure that the final bend there and the flange are aligned. Okay, so I have it aligned. Now don't get confused here. You're not cutting the pipe to the end of the resonator. You're gonna cut the pipe to the end of the split, right? So right here, this pipe, when we cut it, we have to have enough that it slides in here. At least a little bit, preferably a lot. And so we're gonna cut, don't go, whoa, okay, I'll just cut there, because you're gonna cut this too short. Cut it from here, go up, and so it'll be somewhere around there is where I'm gonna get a cut. If you cut it a little too long, that's better than cutting it too short. I'm going to cut this right here where that mark is, about an inch up from the weld for the resonator. Again, don't get confused. This is the resonator, that is the cat. This is the front of the vehicle, this is the back. This is the piece that's going to be coming out, this whole thing. So it's better to have a little extra here and come back later and have to cut it than to have too little. So cut closer to the rear of the vehicle, not closer to the front. I'm going to make this mark all the way around so that I can have a nice reference for the pipe cutting tool. Closer look at this pipe cutter, and you're just going to go back and forth, back and forth. Let it make a scribe before you really start clamping down on it. And then just take your time and chew away. That tool worked great. It only took a couple minutes and it cut right through it. I forgot to mention this, but put some kind of wire or something, figure out a way to hang this, because these are the hangers, and this is on the part that you cut. So this is going to want to come down. You don't want it to just be hanging, because then you might end up having to replace that exhaust gasket in the front of the manifold. So just tie it off with some wire around this heat shield. All right, now we'll just remove this piece, these two nuts. These are both 12 millimeter, and then pop it off the hangers, however you did the hangers before, and we'll pop this piece out. Really like these pliers. Now I'm going to put the muffler back on before I put the new resonator on, and that'll act as an extra pair of hands for me. I can just loosely tie it in down there. I put this crossbar piece in so the new resonator will rest on top of it, and just barely put these nuts in. So it'll give you an extra hand there. Okay, now when it comes time to line this up, you'll notice that it is just a tiny bit off. It'll fit, but not with this rust and stuff on the outside. So you can see those little shavings, I gotta take those off with the magnet, but those are some shavings when I tried to clean this up with some steel wool to get any kind of lip or anything off of there. It's very close. You can see it actually fits almost right there. But it's obviously not going to be able to slide. So I'm going to clean it up, and then I'm going to heat this section up with the heat gun and see if that will expand this just enough that I can slide it on there. I put the Permatex around there just like that on all sides. Stuff's a little bit slippery, so it'll help to be like a lubricant. Well, I thought I was filming that, but obviously I wasn't. It did work, so I heated this up. It got up to about 300 degrees or so just with the regular heat gun, and then I was able to get it on. Once it gets past the very, very beginning, it actually moves on pretty quickly. I didn't quite get it in as much as I'd like, so I'm going to heat this up again down here where there isn't any pipe length, any doubled pipe length, because the pipe length is doubled from about here to here, about there to there. And then I'm going to heat this up a little bit more and try to shove it on yet a little bit more. Now we'll connect the pipe to the muffler. I put a bit of anti-seize on these bolts. I'm going to reuse my bolts. Take a good look at yours, and if you can reuse them, go for it. Torque on these is going to be 32 foot-pounds. Don't forget your gasket. It's going to go in like that. So this flat side is going to be touching on the new resonator, the new pipe, and the rounded side is going to be going up to the muffler. Once you got that in there, make sure it's around. Make sure it's around that center part. And then you'll push this up, move the muffler as you need to. Keep the muffler disconnected on the exhaust hanger that's closest to this part. Keep that disconnected, and that'll give you more room to wiggle this around. Then go ahead and get these on, and the bolts go on with the spring on the outside. If you're having trouble getting either of the bolts in, just squeeze this, or use some type of clamp to squeeze it if you only have one hand, and you'll be able to get them in. Make sure you're alternating back and forth. So do a bunch of turns on one side. And then come over to the other side and even it out. Now we can get this last hanger here for the muffler. Just spray some silicone in there and slide that muffler hanger back in. Double check that you have all three of the muffler hangers in place. Now we'll finish off these guys, these nuts. Just tack those down, 12 millimeter. Get your exhaust hangers on. If you haven't done that yet, just slide them on in. If you're having trouble sliding them on, so you can spray them with a little bit of that spray silicone. You make sure you get both of them in. And now we'll do this clamp, this U clamp. So this U comes apart, and this bottom part, you can just slip it around the top. And hopefully you got your exhaust seated deeper than I did. I only got mine down to about there. Hopefully you got yours, as far down as possible. You just gonna want to kind of go like at least midway on it. I don't have a whole lot of room to work with, so it's going to be about right here. Make sure when you put the clamp on that all parts of the clamp are touching the outside pipe. So don't accidentally put it like that, or see this edge might end up on that pipe. Make sure all the parts are on the outside pipe. This is the inside pipe, this is the outside pipe. So I'm just going to turn this in by hand, and then go back and forth with the wrench until I have it tacked down real nice. I don't have any kind of torque value or anything for you on these, just tight, I guess. I've seen people put them on with impact wrenches to the point that it deforms this part right here. I didn't put it on that tight, but I think I'll just leave it like this, and then I'll check if it leaks. Right now, I'm going to go around the whole perimeter there with some more of this Permatex. I kind of went a little crazy with the Permatex and basically got it everywhere, but I think that ought to do it. The instructions for the Permatex say to let it set for 30 minutes and then to run the engine for 10 minutes. So I'll let it set while I put away my tools and then go for a little drive for 10 minutes. It's been 30 minutes, so now I'm going to fire her up. Alright, I want to show a couple other options in case this option doesn't work for you. With the resonator on the bench here, I can show you. Instead of replacing the whole resonator, if you'd like, you can cut right here and replace this side with a new ball flange. The reason you have to replace this and not just buy a flange and weld it on is because that inside ring that you saw on the new resonator, it won't be on any of the aftermarket ones, or at least any that I've seen. Maybe you can find one. The downside to doing this is that you then have to cut over here on the exhaust, on the muffler, and replace that flange too. But you can get these flanges, a flange here and a flange there, for about $15 or so each. So that'd be like $30. They don't need a gasket. And then you just need band clamps, so here and here. So that would be a cheaper solution. You would have to make 2 cuts instead of 1. I decided to replace the whole resonator, as you saw, because before I pulled this out, I was a little bit worried about the integrity of the metal, but now that I'm looking at it, it really doesn't look so bad. On the outside it looks bad, but I mean the metal really doesn't really seem that bad. So this is terrible. But I think I would have been okay just coming down here and putting in a new flange and clamping it, and then doing that on the muffler as well. So that's an option for you if you decide not to take the whole resonator out. So those are a few options for you. Apparently this is a very common failure, and so you're likely to encounter this if you have an older Matrix or Corolla.